Welcome to a Questions from the Closet bonus episode.
Season wrap-up edition.
Yeah, so we're ending season 4, which has been quite long.
Season 4 is this still season 4?
Yeah, we started in September of 2022.
Oh my goodness, we went through both, like the full calendar school year.
We did. But we did take 3 weeks off in the middle of December.
Oh yeah.
And then we were in the same town for a while, and we kind of had a lull in January.
Sorry for the lull, everyone.
January just is the definition of
January is a
okay.
lull.
So when I was on my mission, my mom wrote
also,
me.
Mike, you're Mike. We should say
I'm Mike. I'm here.
Season recap with Sound Guy Mike.
Here we are.
He knows about the episodes more than we do because he has to edit them.
Also, I just want to say that Mike does more for this podcast than I think anyone technically. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Give Mike your adulation.
I am therefore king. I'm just kidding.
Adulate him.
That sounds awful.
Anyway,
Please
so
don't adulate me.
I do want to say, I don't know when the next time we're going to record is, but this week, me and Ben thought of the best similarity and difference, and I was so excited to use it for this episode, and then they were like, no, the season wrap-up's a bonus episode.
Should we do a fakey intro?
I thought it was a fun similarity and difference.
Well, let's do it.
So Ben and I are not terribly diverse. We share many opinions, life experiences.
For example?
For example, we were both, well, I don't know how to say it. I don't know. Is there a certain room or word for we were both in the Provo Temple initiatory space last week.
Room. Yeah.
Room.
Uh-huh.
However,
There are some pretty big differences. I was there as a worker.
and I was there as a patron. And it was cute. It was fun because me and Ryan went to the temple to do initiatories, and we show up, and I know Ben's temple worker, and I knew he'd be there. It was Thursday night. We were trying to surprise him, and I thought
Anyway, sorry.
I thought it would be fun to show up while you were working. And I told you we might, but anyway, I was expecting you to be the front desk, taking the recommends.
Oh, the recommend.
And I was excited for you to grant me entrance.
Scan your recommend.
Yeah, but you weren't there, so I thought we weren't going to see you, and then we went down to the initiatories, and that's where you were.
Yeah. Well, funny story. So I have a list of everyone who's made an appointment. So I saw your names on the list.
Oh, he
And so I actually prepared your packets beforehand. Because I was like, oh, when they came in, I'll
the names.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then you were 15 minutes late. So after 10 minutes, I was like, they're not coming.
Oh, we came, yeah. Ryan's always late. It's always his fault.
He said it was your fault.
No.
Okay. Well, either way, it was great to see you there.
It was fun. So that's our similar difference. Okay. Should we just jump right into the season recap?
Yeah.
I'm shocked that this season started in Arizona.
This was a long season. Okay. How many episodes do you each think there were?
22.
25.
Wow, that was pretty close. 26. Technically, as of
Including
this
the one we just
point,
recorded?
we have 2 that are unreleased, and that isn't counting towards us. It'll be 28 by the time we're done.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
We started at the live event in Mesa, Arizona.
Mike's idea.
Yeah.
That was honestly so much fun. That was a really special experience for me, just because there were a lot of people there that I think thought that they would never even get the opportunity to interact at all with you guys. And I could tell it really meant a lot to them. So that was really special to watch.
Well,
that was cool.
Well, people always talk to us after. We have never had people wait so long. People waited in line 2 hours
For
to talk to us.
hours.
Yeah.
People brought me gifts.
It was
Somebody
so-
brought me a little stuffed animal deer.
People were so kind. Oh yeah, because
Because of the deer. It was back then, close to Deer Saga.
Yeah, and one of the comments I heard the most was, "Oh my gosh, Sound Guy Mike is way more attractive than I was expecting."
Wow. Everyone tune in. I hope you're watching the YouTube. So you can...
I heard that from a ton of people.
Just kidding.
And it was cool. I liked that trip because we were able to interview. Also, Mike, you just did so much on that trip, by the way, taking all the stuff down there. So
Yeah,
you could do
that was a
interviews
lot.
with local Arizonans.
Those were some good episodes too. That was a strong start to the season. That was actually one of my favorites. The Am I Needed? That was a really hard hitting one. That was a really
With
top
Claire?
tier favorite for me. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really special.
And what I love about Claire is that she's a teacher, so not only is she thoughtful and kind, but she's so well spoken, and so she just was
Very natural.
A golden guest.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly,
Yeah.
As was Michael Soto there.
totally, yeah, because Michael Michael presents to legislatures and
Yeah.
runs
So
the
easy to talk to.
organization.
Yeah. I loved that episode with him. I love the concept of building bridges and traversing the chasm.
and taking people where they are, then helping them get to whatever their next step looks like.
Yeah, that was awesome. This is so fun to look through all these episodes. Okay, Sarah interviewed us. Sarah loves to interview us.
She does.
For the episode about what's it like to be on a pedestal. And that episode was actually a long time coming. We'd wanted to do it for a while, and it was her idea, and like it just kept not happening. And I think it happened right at the right time, actually.
Yeah. Funny story about that episode. She asked us like, "What's it like to be on a pedestal?" And I made a joke. I said, "Well, since we're up so high, we can see things other people don't see." And she's like, "Tell me more about that." I was like, "Well, it was a joke, but
also it's true."
Yeah, then we talked about that.
I remember talking about that, how like it gives us an interesting view of the landscape, and also it can be hard to be singled out.
Yeah, definitely.
It was actually, fun fact, on YouTube anyway, it was tied for the most viewed episode of the season.
Oh wow,
Okay.
that's nice. What was it tied with?
It was tied with What Is It Like in the Closet?
Oh my gosh, it's dark, a lot of clothes. Okay, what other episodes are sticking out to you from the season?
So, we had so many episodes that I really loved. Like, I really loved all of them, but the two that I think probably impacted me the most, no, that's not true, but two that really impacted me, and we recorded them back to back, were What is Minority Stress and How Do We Talk About Sex?
Yes, that was also on my list.
Yeah.
So I'm not a huge crier. It takes a lot for me to cry, but Minority Stress made me cry.
What made you cry about in that episode?
It just
The
was
stress.
Yeah, well, no, it was really interesting for me to just like to listen to Aaliyah just kind of like pour out her heart about like what it was like, raising her kids as a racial minority. And it was just so interesting because I wouldn't like they're not comparable experiences to experiences that I've had, but at the same time I was just like, my heart goes out to you because like I felt pain, and I don't know, I'm not doing a good job of expressing it, but just like it was a heartbreaking trauma bonding experience for me.
Well, I think it shows that like being oppressed or being looked down upon or downtrodden in different ways, even though there are different experiences, it can have a lot of the same like social and like emotional impact. And yeah, it was interesting to see how much I could relate to her version of minority stress, being a racial minority, as my version being, I guess, like a identity minority.
Yeah, I mean, completely different experiences that are also somehow kind of the same.
And it was really validating to hear her talk about it and be like, oh, like a lot of my I'm not overreacting to any of this.
Well, and just the amount of grace with
The
which
sexual and gender minority.
Yeah, I don't like sexual minority. I guess I am the sexual minority because I'm still a virgin.
yeah, no, just the amount of grace with which that she lent people going through minority stress, like, it's okay, it's a normal thing.
Right.
And what I loved about that episode was I got so much feedback from people who said, I am stressed. You put a word to what I've been feeling.
Yes.
And I think that was really helpful for people, like, have vocabulary.
Well, and some of it's like, why don't I sleep well? How come I'm tired all the time? Like all of these things. And you don't realize all the layers on you when it's not like pinprick stress. It's like a layer of heaviness.
Right.
And I feel like that was like one of those things that like so many times after that episode, we referred back to it. So many times it came up again.
Yeah. And then the other episode we recorded that same night, like right afterwards, was Shalom Levitt about
Big night.
talking about sex. And like, I'm a mature person. I feel like I'm pretty developed. And to like realize...
Are you self-aware though?
If I say I'm self-aware, that I'm not, so I can't say it, although I am. But like to realize all these problems I have, like live on the podcast, was very humbling.
That was so courageous of you.
Oh, thank you.
Ben had the realization that he's a sexual being for the public to see. You feel uncomfortable. No, that's not embarrassing though. That just is. That's just human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of what made that so magical. Is there were actually a couple episodes I feel like this season, Ben, where you got like really vulnerable.
You got gritty.
And I think it was really good. It connected for me, at least. Another one that you got super vulnerable on was your essay.
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was special.
Yeah.
No, that was really good. Feared, pitied, and honored. Yes.
Honestly, I wish everyone would listen to that episode. I'm really proud of it, but obviously I like
No, it's really, really special.
I thought we had a good discussion after too. And
yeah. And it was nice to like, I feel like with that, you let yourself be honest, which is courageous. It's a vulnerable thing to do.
So Charlie, when are you gonna have your vulnerability hangover?
Are you kidding me? the last season's opener. Still really.
I mean, come on, you got to keep spilling the tea somewhere.
That isn't that our most watched episode?
Actually, I think it is. Yeah.
I was at Cougar at Nationals, and one of the moms was like, I was just listening to a podcast of you, and I was like, oh, that's so nice, I'm honored. Which one? And she's like, the one where you started, like, we're talking about how you fell in love with Ryan. And I was like, turn it off. Let's see, I'm looking through others. Oh, Charlie's new book, that was a great episode. Big announcements. Let's see. Oh, you know what I really liked, I loved having Dr. Lisa Diamond back on the podcast.
She's great.
We did that episode about why Gen Z is so gay. I'm talking about how so many people are coming out so young now in this newer generation, and she, like, I want to go back and listen and, like, write it down, actually, because she described it so well in, like, 20 seconds. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
I feel like that every time she comes on, it's like one of those aha moments. It's like, well, when you say it like that, of course, like, duh.
Yeah, and I just think she's so special, and I loved the glasses that she wore, too. So fashionable, so edgy.
She is just fantastic. What was your favorite similarity and difference?
Okay, my favorite similarity and difference was from the episode written by AI.
Dang it, that was going to be mine. You took it, Ben.
I could not stop laughing because I was squeaking so much.
You lost it.
I was actually, funny story, I was actually, when I was prepping for this, I was going through them before I came here, and I re-listened to that one on the drive here, and I was losing it while I was going.
But what's funny was that was written by AI, but it was like a real similarity and difference. Like,
Yeah.
I do prefer Asian noodles.
And I really do prefer Italian noodles.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So should we do another AI episode in the future?
I mean, if it's good,
Did people like that? Did we get...
I don't know.
Did you like that, everyone?
Yeah, let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Definitely. I mean, honestly, this would be a good opportunity to just get some feedback from the season as a whole. So if you're not on YouTube, go find this on YouTube and let us know. Like, what do you think? What are the things that you liked about this episode or liked about this season?
These are some good episodes. Oh, the Judgment episode where me and Ben aired our dirty laundry.
Oh man, I forgot about that one.
That was special though. Like, again, that was a time when you, Ben, was like really vulnerable and like were able to admit that you were wrong.
I am often wrong.
No, it was cool to like in real time like work through something that happens a lot and really get into like why there's so much judgment and how we can not do that to people. I thought that was really special, and I'm really glad that was recorded.
Yeah.
You know what I actually often think a lot is often think it a lot. So I don't know if I'll have kids one day, but I do know that I have like nieces and nephews, and like I try to be an involved uncle, and I was just thinking, how beautiful is it that like I'm leaving a legacy where if one day I'm gone or if someone wants to know more about me, they can listen to so many of my thoughts that like center around two really important things, like my faith, the gospel, and just something that's so integral to me. And like, I think it's really beautiful that for the past 4 seasons, we've been able to, and Mike, you have facilitated us being able to work through this. Cause I think, you know, like anyone who wants to get to know like who is Charlie Bird, they'll be able to, and that's such a blessing, and I'm grateful for that. And they can see us work through awkward moments, and yeah. Anyway,
Kind of a diary of sorts.
yeah.
You know, speaking of diaries, I had this moment when I was home for Christmas this last year where I read my mom's journal that she'd only written in for like a year and a half, so there wasn't a lot in there. But I was like so grateful I could like hold her words and connect with her, even though like her memory's gone. And I had this thought as I was reading her journal that was, everyone should leave behind something for those who will miss them when they're gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not going to be gone for a long time, but
Right, but it's cool that we can leave something behind, and it's so multifaceted. There's video, there's audio, there's emotion. It's cool.
We get to see that scared look in Ben's eye when he gets a little bit vulnerable.
Find out what makes them awkward.
yeah. Mike, what's this season been like for you?
I think this one has just, I mean, it's more of the same. It's just been a really good opportunity for me to like learn and see perspectives and grow as a human being. Just because, especially living in Utah, like you're not exposed to a like wide variety of like different kinds of people often. And this is, a really good learning opportunity for me just because we do have those kinds of people on the podcast. And I don't know, it's really interesting as well, just because personally, there have been a lot of times during this podcast where I've just had like a lot going on with work and just like other things going on that are like, big stressors. And so it's been a little bit more of a sacrifice. But I think it's that much more special to me because of the sacrifice that it's been. So, I wouldn't say that this season was necessarily any different for me than the last seasons. It's been more of the same, which is absolutely a good thing.
I'm really grateful that you're here.
Honestly, me too.
Yeah.
Same.
Even though we're all so last minute getting episodes out.
But spoiler for next season, we are revamping the studio and we're making it a lot nicer, a lot better. We have a new couch Charlotte bought for the studio. You can't see it, but
Really?
Well, she didn't buy it for the studio, but
it's down here.
She
so we're
wants
using it.
it to be in the podcast. So
Oh, that's so sweet of her.
yeah, I told her not to buy the couch like 4 dozen times, and she's like, "Ben, I bought you a couch." I was like, "I told you not to buy the couch."
That's so cute.
she was so excited. Like the
excited
moment
for
I
the
walked
revamp.
in, she was like, "So are we going to redo the downstairs?" And I was like,
So-
yeah, you betcha.
So we moved it down here. Not Charlotte and I, someone else, but Charlotte was there as we moved it down.
That's cute.
I wouldn't make my 89-year-old landlady carry couches.
I mean, she was eager enough. She would have tried.
And she's like, "Ben, we should move this here and this here and this here." And I was like, "Charlotte, I don't know how the cameras and the cords work, so you'll have to talk to Mike." She's like, "Okay, I will talk to Mike." So the moment Mike shows up, she's just like, "Mike, we're going to rearrange the basement." Mike's like, "Okay." He had no context.
I love her.
She is wonderful.
I'm looking at, another, I'm so glad we had Eric and Will on.
Yes.
And just like both of those episodes are very different, but they're both so important, I think.
Yeah.
And in fact, I re-listened to the one we did with Eric about like uncertainty, when eternity feels uncertain, just the other night. And I was like, wow, I'm learning so much from my friends. And it's just, again, I'm just so grateful that was captured.
Yeah.
Also, side note, in between, because we did the 2 episodes with him, in between those episodes, he performed that cover that he wrote of the Willy Wonka song. That was low-key the best thing ever. I really hope that he releases that somewhere.
Eric does this thing where he can take he's a very gifted pianist and has a beautiful voice. And he does this thing where people give him just like the most ridiculous song and he makes it emotional and moving. And so this happened a couple of years ago. Ben was like, "Why don't you do that I Want It Now song
Because
from
I was like, "What is the silliest song?"
from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?" And we were like, "There's no way he can make it." I literally cried.
Yeah. I was
Oh
like-
yeah, it was like an
It was
emotional,
a
deep
movie.
thing. Yes.
Yeah, he made this silly song about all the things we like want and can't have.
It's so good.
So if you're watching, Eric, please, we need this on Spotify or something. We'll make a bonus episode of you performing, but please.
I seriously can't believe this season was that big. I'm still looking through these episodes. I love how we talked about finding joy in the temple as an LGBTQ individual.
I was going to tell you the story. I'll just tell you now on the podcast. I was walking back from my class to my office yesterday, and someone was like, "Oh, that's Ben Shalati," and I stopped her and we chatted.
Shalati.
No, Shalati.
Shillity?
It's Shalati.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so random BYU student loves the podcast, and she just went to the temple a few weeks ago, and she said that she was scared, and she listened to our episode multiple times, and that really helped her.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so special.
So I thought that was really beautiful.
Oh, I love that. That is beautiful.
I love that the episode helped someone feel more comfortable in the temple.
Should we talk about Nadia and Nori?
Oh, man.
I mean, that was recent, but
Yeah. So I just got a message from one of my friends this afternoon who served his mission stateside with a lot of immigrants and Spanish speaking and a lot of people who were undocumented. And he worked as a legal clerk or something for people who are undocumented, like knew a lot and had a lot of proximity. And he said, "I learned so much from that episode. I'm so grateful you."
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I had an experience. So that episode just went out yesterday for us. on Sunday, I was talking with a member of my family who recently went on a date with someone who's a dreamer. And I was like, I know you have a lot of questions. She was like peppering me with all these questions. I was like, do I have a podcast episode for you? And it was like perfect timing and exactly the same experience. It's just like, there's so much lack of information out there. So I think it was like really good, which is kind of interesting because that's not the sort of thing that we usually
Yeah,
cover.
you wouldn't think that our platform would be able to
No.
educate about something like that.
But the similarities I was shocked by, because at first I was like,
like, Ben, why are you having these poor girls waste their evening?
but yeah, it was phenomenal.
Yeah. And, you know, some of our guests like Liv and Eric and Claire, and I could list a bunch of guests, but like I would just love to have like dozens of episodes with these people, just like to hear their wisdom and hear so much. Like there's just so much for people to, there's just so much wisdom and grace and confidence in this space that I think there's just so much more we could learn from each of our guests.
The gay adolescence episode really was just a powerful reminder to me of like God's timing, I guess, because I if anyone listened to it, I'm obviously very passionate about that. And I've been wanting to do that episode for years, like probably 2.5 years. It was one of the first ones I wanted to cover. And we tried a couple times and we wanted to get the right guest, and multiple times that episode fell through. We couldn't find the right person, or it just wasn't working out. And like I never could have picked Molly to be like the perfect guest for that episode, but she was, and I'm so glad we waited, because I love the way that her specific personality and experience was able to facilitate the conversation in a way that made it even better than I ever anticipated.
Yeah.
And I feel like that happens a lot, and it's cool. Like everyone is so needed. Like each person has the ability to make something click, and it's so cool to see.
You know, and I don't know if Molly would be open to this, but it might be interesting to revisit that with her, you know, maybe later on next season and just see how things have changed. What's different?
Yeah. Like, are you still an adolescent? You're like, you're like a late teenager now.
She's like, I'm a mature adult.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of one of the special things now that we've got kind of like a good backlog of episodes, is there's kind of like something for everyone at every stage. And so it's kind of cool to be able to grow with people, so to speak. Like, you know, at an adolescent stage, you know, maybe this episode's meaningful to you, but then later on, maybe this episode has, you know, some meaning to you.
I haven't even thought of that possibility, though, to like revisit people from prior episodes and like check in, like, how are things now? What's happened? How are things different? That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mike has a lot of good ideas. He's the
Mike,
moved to Arizona.
you're always popping off a great idea at the season the wrap up.
I mean, I got to make it spicy somehow. We got to keep people around.
How long you been holding on to that one?
Well, let me tell you, just kidding.
Well, what's everyone looking forward to during our few months off?
I'm so excited to be able to enjoy the sunshine and not be buried in this Utah winter. I know this has nothing to do with being on a
Back
break
to January.
podcast, but for real though, like this winter is done.
What about you, Ben?
I just had a lot going on. Like, we record the podcast regularly. I'm, you know, helping plan the Gather conference. I'm working on this book. There's just a lot going on, and it'll be nice just like have some extra free time.
Maybe I'll actually get to hang out with Ben for once.
I know.
Ben has asked me to hang out with him like several times in the last few months, and I've been able to hang out with him like 2 of those times.
We see each other when we do the podcast.
Yeah.
But I
honestly.
haven't seen your new house yet.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
I know, for real though. I got to do my housewarming party. That is a thing I got to do.
What I'm looking forward to, actually, last time we recorded it a couple weeks ago, my phone was on Do Not Disturb, because I do that. Ben doesn't sometimes.
I remember I do. Sometimes I forget, okay?
Me who has my phone on vibrate right now.
So my phone was on Do Not Disturb, and one of my buddies works for Disney, and he gets like crazy good deals on cruises sometimes. And that's we did one last year, and he got an email from Disney saying like, "Hey, this cruise isn't filled up. Like before midnight, book your spot." And we went late that night. It was really late, and it was past midnight, and so I had a ton of missed calls from him. And so I left, and I called him back, and I was like, "Hey, you're still up? Sorry, I missed all your calls. What's happening?" And he's like, "Well, you weren't answering, so I just went ahead and booked you, and you're going on a cruise in June through the Mediterranean. And I was like, am I free those dates? Let me look. And he's like, you better be. Which is really funny. And then he's like, I already charged you on Venmo. So I'm going on a cruise to the Mediterranean.
So fun.
Okay,
I
cool.
guess. And I had no say in the matter because of the podcast, which I'm glad, because I probably would have said no. I probably would. Well,
Hey, maybe you should take advantage and do a podcast cruise, a cruise podcast.
A cruise cast.
Our next live event is on a cruise.
On a cruise.
Live from the Mediterranean.
Why choose a location when you could have multiple?
Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm glad that I was forced into it because I want to go.
Yeah, I think we all need a little bit of a vacation.
Definitely. And one of the things we'll be doing over the summer is releasing classic episodes. So we have so many episodes now that we'll pick some of our favorites and release them over the summer, so there'll still be more podcasts in your feed.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Keep an eye out for that.
I wonder, should we just call it like, should season 5 be the classics, and then we come back at season 6?
I think we just call it the classic collection.
I don't know.
The classic collection.
Sure. Extra classy.
Anyway, well, we're running out of things to talk about. I'm hungry, so
Let's go.
All right.
thanks everyone for listening.
That's a season wrap.
I feel like that wasn't a good enough, and it needs to be bigger. Ben, give us a big final charge.
I just want to say that I believe in you. I'm so grateful for you, listeners, and I'm excited to see how God inspires you.
That was forced. You could tell someone asked him to say it.
It's still true.
It is true. Thanks everyone so much for listening, and we're excited to check in with you soon.
See you next season.
Bye.